Oops. Okay. All right, so what we're going to work on right now is I'm just going to kind of go over some review. Oh, check that out, see? Okay, you could actually probably... I mean, unless you want to be right next to my hand, it's fine. I'm not... I don't care. Okay, so what I'm just going to expand a little bit on what I showed you about cylinders, right? Okay, and maybe when I throw again, your experience, some of my explanations will make a little bit more sense, right? Okay. As soon as I'm done with this, then I'm going to have the rest of you guys come over for a little bit more detail. All right. So, you guys are doing okay with centering and stuff?
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. And are you having problems with opening your floor at all?
It's not opening the floor, it's actually getting it up.
When you're pulling up your cylinder? Okay, fine.
When it's filling up, that's the problem.
Okay. All right, are you guys making sure that you're checking the thickness of your floor with your needle tool? Okay, this is a must. All right, you're gonna want the floor to be right around, you know, a 1/4 inch or so. It's fine. If it's a little bit thicker, that's great. Whatever, err on the side of caution of being thicker. Anything too thin could cause problems down the road. All right, and we don't need to discuss that yet. All right, the other thing is, see how I am only using my middle finger tip, right? So if this is my floor and this is my clay wall, I'm kind of engaging like this and I'm just pushing that out. All right, see how my fingers, I'm making more of like a C, and I'm not compressing between my finger and my thumb. That's pinching it, and you'll just thin it out. Your thumb is just there for leverage and support, and you're stretching out your clay. Okay, you're making this a wider circumference. Okay, the other thing you need to think about too is that the widest part of your mound should be at the bottom, and that's so that you can open your floor to that dimension. Okay, if you open your floor wider than that, you're just going to stretch it out and you're going to have the shelf at the bottom, and that's a problem. So you need to start considering the dimensions and the proportions of the mound that you're making and how that relates to what it is you're trying to produce on the wheel. All right, that'll make more sense when you start making form. Okay, very good. Okay, so I'm just going to stretch that out. Notice how my wrist is up, okay, and then my elbows are down. And I'm just stretching that out. I have a really fast wheel speed. Okay, can you guys see how I'm using my fingers to compress that clay? All right, now I'm trying to make a flat floor. I'm using my fingertip, and you can go from the outside to the inside or the inside to the outside. The main goal is to stay in relationship with how fast your wheel is spinning. Okay, now remember, see how I'm a little bit out of whack, right? Okay, so what you can do is you can compress this back into shape, and I'll take my fingers here, and with a smaller piece of clay you can just do it with your fingers. With a large piece of clay you'll have to do it with your whole hand. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do is I'm just compressing this clay just a little bit. All right, see how my pressure, like I'm not trying to squeeze through it, I'm just compressing it. All right, and then I'll take my other hand like this with the sponge and I'll just push down and in. Okay, and you'll see that that material starts to fall down the side. Okay, that's because I'm applying pressure down and in, and it's squeezing that clay down and out. All right, that's the only place it has to go. So what then I can do is adjust where my thumb is making contact, and then I can squeeze down here or up here and change the shape. What you need to start doing is assessing how the clay is moving and how your fingers are engaging with it. Okay, and how you might need to move those fingers. All right. Now with this move, I can open it up or I can compress it inward, right? See that? So I can start controlling if I've made mistakes. Okay, the next step is, do you see I'm trying to include this material into my cylinder from the bottom? And I'm just kind of compressing the clay up and in, right? See that? So now I'm in a position where I can start pulling this up. And if you remember, you want to use both of your middle fingers. Okay, that's how I want you to start to learn how to do this. There are other ways that work, but when you get into larger cylinders, you're going to be using two separate fingertips. There's no way around it. So I want you to learn that skill now. Okay, let me just clean my hands here. All right, now I'm going to slow down my wheel speed. I'm not flooring it, okay, but I've been doing this for a little while, so I'm a little bit more comfortable with a faster speed. If I had a larger cylinder, I would definitely be slowing down. Okay, anyways. What I want to do is I want to, keep my hand open like a C or a Z or an O, right? And I can use my thumb to help find my finger on the outside. Now I'm not compressing. Okay, the compression comes from both of my fingertips. And I'm gonna use my thumb as a brace for my fingertip so that I can use all these hand muscles too. Okay, so if you approach it like this, that's really weak and your fingers just get pushed around, okay? All right, very good. So I'm just gonna start, I compress it and I create that bead like we were talking about. And I'm just gonna continue to compress that and try and bring it up and through space. Okay, there we go. All right, now here's another one. So I'm really compressing. Now I'm pushing back from the inside, and I'm just going to use the speed of the wheel to help me rise the clay. I should say, help me raise the clay, right? Now notice how I'm constantly fixing my rim. All right, sometimes, depending on what happens, it gets a little bit out of shape. All right, you need to learn how to take your fingers like this, between your thumb and your pointer finger, sometimes with your middle finger. It depends on what you're comfortable with, okay? And you just kind of want to hold it and then compress down a little bit with this finger. Okay, you can also do it with your sponge, but when we're finishing work, I prefer that you practice just using your fingertips, okay, because then you learn more control. All right, so here we go. All right, now I'm going to bring that up. Okay. And I've got a pretty consistent shape right here. What I want you guys to do is begin to feel how the pressure affects the thickness or thinness of your cylinder, and to get a sense of the thickness between your fingers and making assessments for trying to keep a consistent cylinder. Okay? So this is the way that you want to end up, right? Something like this. Okay. Okay, something like that, right?
Yeah.
It's pretty consistent. It could be a little bit thicker at the bottom, like, whatever. It's not that big of a deal. Okay? But consistent clay wall, and then a little bit of extra thickness at the rim.
Okay.
All right? Okay. Now, once you start getting used to this, which you're going to today, the next step is to start shaping it. All right. Okay, now you can see when I do it, it kind of becomes, one fluid motion, right? So you're thinking about it in steps, but eventually it'll just kind of become a natural fluid motion. Okay, so here's my cylinder. Now you can see my cylinder shape is slightly tapered in, right? Okay, that's really important because it helps the stability of your cylinder. All right, now your inside hand is responsible for maintaining that interior space. Okay, your outside hand is responsible for making sure that your outside dimension is slightly tapered up and in, right? So there's a balance, there's a give and take that you're going to have to develop. The other thing is that if you thin out your cylinder too much, then you're not going to be able to stretch it out. There's not enough material to expand it. So you're going to have to get used to making those assessments. All right, now in order to, this is going to be the quick version. All right, it's like the Spaceballs wedding. Do you? Good. Do you? Okay. Now, when you're creating shape, okay, you're going to get used to, you just slowly want to expand this into form. And the way that you do that is you're just going to push a little bit harder from the inside. All right, now you need to make sure that you have compression from your outside finger to keep everything on center. All right, it's a feeling that you're going to have to develop. Now, the other thing is that you don't want to expand laterally too quickly. All right, if your clay gets too flat, it's going to fall. So you have to make sure that you're keeping your curves more vertical.
Yeah, I'll show you.
All right, so ease your way into volume. All right, just get used to taking that clay and see how I have that. See how I'm kind of expanding it out. All right, I'm just stretching it. I have a slower wheel speed. I'm waiting for the clay to expand and see how tight my throw lines are. Okay, that's what maintains your symmetry. Okay, that's what I want you to practice. The other thing is that I want you to also start practicing keeping a vertical lip. Okay, you see how I changed my lip and centered it up? All right, that's what gives this whole shape stability. Okay. All right, and I'm just going to expand it again. Here we go, a little bit more from the volume, from the bottom. Now you see how I'm slowly expanding it? I'm working it out to the position that I want. Okay, if I were to just expand this really quickly, I would probably tear it or rip it, or the rim would kind of oval and fall down in. All right, so you want to try and, urge your form. Okay, you're trying to slowly implement it. When you understand how your forces affect the material, you can quickly make these forms. Okay, but for now, just try to learn how the material is changing. Okay, here we go. And there's my rim. See how I clean up my rim like that? Put a little decoration in there. Change the form a little bit. Okay, there we go. Yay. Alright, I'm going to make sure I get all this water out. Whoa. I put a little ridge in my floor, and that's going to happen. And if you do that, you just kind of want to compress that floor flat again. If you can't reach, you can get used to using these tools. And I think if you look at the screen right now, you'll be able to see that. See how I'm doing that? Okay. All right. I also want you guys to get used to using your knife tool. All right. Use your edge. Okay. The longest side pointed down is how I prefer to do it. And you're just going to slowly incise your way down through the material. You want to get that extra material off so that your clay pot, when it's stiffening up for the next stage, it stiffens up at an equal rate from top to bottom. If you have a lot of clay at the bottom, it's going to dry quickly at your rim and warp it.
Good pressure.
All right, so you want to prevent that. Okay. All right. Now, let me just get rid of this. Hey, do you guys want to come up and join me? Por favor. Okay, I'm just going to stop this real quick.